This Sunday. Every Sunday. Side by side at the microphone, from the green light to the speed trap, Chris Switzer and Ray Garino calls them as they sees them, and you better believe them. Here! Relevant news, biased opinions, and outright bullshit regarding every aspect of automotive culture. Gasp at mechanical trickery never before revealed over FCC-regulated airwaves. Thrilled to the explosive tension as Chris and Ray cuss each other down the track and barrel roll across the finish line, laughing at certain disaster as they shake hands with the devil. All that and much more this Sunday at high noon on the Motormouth Radio Hour. Call in and speak live with the Wizards of Speed and live feed, Chris Switzer and Ray Garino. Bring the whole family. Kids under 12 get in free. Every Sunday at noon on WHPC. Take the Long Island Expressway to the Meadowbrook Parkway and look for the sign saying no parking on the expressway and no express service on the parkway. Go right on Highway 24 to Garden City. $2 all-day parking includes pit pass. Sunday!
Che fiebre hai.
Oh, what'd you say, Chris? Oh, we're on the air. How do you like that? I'm listening to my co-host here on Motormouth Radio, Long Island's only automotive talk show, where we're getting a little suave today. We're going to do a little deep stuff here, right?
Wow,
and I thought I heard some
heard that tune in years.
Yeah, I thought I heard some emanations coming out of your basement. I thought that was you talking.
Yeah, some people call them emanations, yes.
Yeah. The band no one knows, the Chakakas. So
who does that tune? I'm racking my brain here. Who does that?
That's what I just said, the Chakakas.
The Chakakas.
Yeah,
yes. I had one of those this morning early.
Yes. And our music today is sponsored by the good folks at Infinity Records. I was over there the other day looking for some new some new stuff, some vinyl, some CDs, some DAT tapes. I needed some chrome stuff and all sorts of cool stuff, and
I had some Chakakas in the Chakakatorium.
There you go. That's cool. So,
yes,
if you want to talk,
this is still a car show, right?
Yes, if you want to talk Chakakas, you can call us at 516-572-7440, and we will be glad to entertain all of your automotive or otherwise mechanically based dementias.
Needs and dreams.
Yeah. God knows we have a few.
Oh, yeah.
Anything new this week? Anything...
I kind of laugh because I've come to realize that I can spot cars in garages, and all I have to do is clean my own.
Yeah, and that's with the garage door closed.
Right. That's what I have to do. I've come to realize here's the way I've gone from point A to point B here. I drive an old police car. And it's a decommissioned police car, obviously. I always say the car is on the job. I am not. But what I find interesting is when the car is dirty, it just looks like an ordnance vehicle. It looks like a delivery van. It doesn't look very threatening at all. So all I have to do is wipe it down. Mm-hmm. And I think, what was it, yesterday? No, yesterday. It had rained earlier this week. And I did one of the fastest car washes I ever did. I did just let the water from the rain. I wiped that down and went, ta-da, car wash. So I did have the car clean, wiped down. And when I'm driving on the two-lane roads here in the Great Nutmeg State, I've come to realize that people that see a clean car that looks remarkably like a police car, they tend to slow down.
Sure.
And they slow down to the speed limit. And the speed limit on some of these roads are 25 miles an hour.
Lucky you.
And people will do that.
Yeah.
And if you want to cover 6 miles of twisty turnies at 25 miles an hour, there is nothing more boring than that. So what I do is I look at people's garages. You gotta
hit your wigwags and they'll move over for you.
Right. Yeah. But it's so funny because, and this is what happened. I was on my way to the dump to get rid of some non-needed lumber. And I look over to my left, and there's the garage door open, and sitting in the garage, you could tell there's a 70 GTO and like a 69 Corvette.
Nice.
And they're both sitting in the garage. They're both on 4 flat tires. They both have pool toys on them. And I'm like, I'm almost driving off the road at 25 miles an hour. Going,
right.
Wow, will you look at that? And it really is. This is an area, I'm in an area where people are just incredibly secretive about what they have in their possession. They don't say anything. They don't say anything. And I've found that it's remarkable that all it takes is a leisurely drive down some of these scenic roads, and you may see a garage door open, and there may be something in there that goes, wow. But if the car is dirty, no one thinks it's a police car. Everybody's doing 50 miles an hour on these roads, and you're just flying over hills. You get to where you're going rather quickly, but you don't get to see what's in garages.
I think we all do that. We all, no matter where you are, we're always. I always liked taking the train, the Long Island Railroad, into the city for an event, because I always like to get the window seat and look like into the backyards going through Queens.
Oh yeah,
and I've spotted some really cool stuff and just some weird stuff. So
I'm sure. Yeah, there was taking the Metro North into the city. You go through Harlem, and you see some great stuff.
Sure,
in the backs of used car lots.
That's right.
From the train view.
So let me tell you about something that I saw when I was doing something else, kind of along that thread. And we've spoke about this on the show for many years, how when you're doing one operation on a car, you're doing an oil change. Perfect time to look around to look for other stuff that's out of place, something shiny, something wet, something hanging, something, sticking out of it. Yeah. I can't tell you how many screws and tires I've found by doing an oil change. Well, this week I decided yesterday I was going to do an oil change in my wife's car. The life monitor was down to 20%, and she puts a lot more. Her interval goes more for time than mileage, because she just doesn't drive far distances. Mm-hmm. But the oil life monitor, which I've come to respect as a good tool, kept saying that it was good, and even down to 20%, they said, okay, let's pull the plug, let's do it. Just to jump ahead, I did test the oil with the oil life tester.
The Lubricheck?
The Lubricheck, and it showed still usable. Wow. And I just read another article on oil that I'm filtering through that, of course, it talks about the lubricity and then the oil, the additive package. Modern oils, basically the takeaway was newer modern oils last a lot longer, and they don't degrade like older oils, even though they get dirty. The job is to take dirt out, but they're still useful, and that's what I've been finding, that these oils are still useful even when I'm changing them. So,
and you're using dyno oil. You're not using synthetic.
I'm using synthetic.
Oh, you are using synthetic.
Our car calls for Dexos approved synthetic. Yeah.
Really?
So I did the change.
Calls for it?
Oh
wow.
yeah. So I did the change, and one of the things I realized, now when I do the oil change, I want to do a tire rotation also.
Good idea.
Yeah, it's a good time to do it. And I said to myself, how are the brakes on that car? I know I'd put drilled slotted rotors on that car with new pads, and I know it's a couple.
It's not a Ferrari, right?
No, but like I said, at the time I went online to shop for the parts, and I was going to get some Power Stop rotors and pads.
It's a Chevy.
Well, but for $20 more, I was able to upgrade to that nickel nitrided, that non-rust formulation, and they were drilled and slotted. And I said, well, why not? Let's for $20.
Are they neon? Are they neon too? Do they light up?
No. So for $20, I did it. And yesterday, that thought came back to me when I had the front wheel off. Like, hey, you know what? So I got my neon, my Matco foldable light. This is the best little light you're ever going to find, because you can put it in your pocket. It's small, but it has a nice beam. Stuck my head.
Like you.
Yes, exactly. Stuck my head in that wheel well and used that light with my glasses on, and I said, wow, do the pads look that low? I don't know. So I pulled the caliper off, and I saw you know what? It's time for pads. So
really?
Yeah. So, of course, I didn't have them, so I put everything back together. I said, okay, I'll order it. I went back, checked my records. I think it was 2018 I had done those brakes. So it's 3 years.
So what's the mileage?
You know what? Your audio just cut out, by the way.
Oh, good.
And now it's okay. I just started.
All right.
I don't remember. I have to back and check the mileage, but it's not as much as I think as I would have wanted it to be, and I think that speaks to the pad material. It does, because it's a ceramic. The pads that I gotten with the rotors were a matched set, and they're ceramic. What do they call them? Not Teflon, ceramic carbon fiber mix. And I've used ceramic on my other cars, and they are dustless, which is really nice. That's why I like them, and they're quiet. I think these pads wore down too fast. So I did a little research.
How are you cleaning the wheels? Were the wheels, did you see a lot of brake dust on the wheels?
No.
Well, you said they were dustless, but I don't believe in dustless. I don't believe in totally dustless.
It's low dust. It is low dust, yeah. So anyway, now I go in and I'm going to do my research and buy these pads, and this is what really ticked me off. I found that I could get the exact same pads, but I did a little research on. I was reading some of these message boards, and one guy was saying how these are the Z23 pads, and I said, okay. He was bashing me. Did a little video, said he didn't like them. They weren't what he expected them to be. And, he liked the old Z16 pads. So I looked those up, and I found nowhere in there did they give you the pad composition. On brake pads, there's letters and numbers on the side of the brake material. Yeah. And you can look those up, and it tells you the actual the pad material. Like, you used to have taxi brakes back in the day. It was a harder material, so it would last longer.
I remember those, yeah. Taxi brakes, yeah.
So they
were made out of rock.
So I couldn't find that interchange, but last night I went on to, I was on Rock Auto. I went to Rock Auto, and I said, okay, so that's where I bought this stuff.
Buy a set of rocks.
I said, okay, let me pull these pads up. This is getting us into supply chain stuff here. I found the pads, and they were very competitively priced. It was like $26 or $28 for the front pads. Okay.
Yeah, but how much did it cost to ship them?
Well, there you go. Then the tax was like $2.43 and shipping was like $9. And I said, wait a minute, I have to spend almost as much for shipping and tax as I do for these pads? And I said, no, I'm not ordering them. I said, you know what? No, I'll go to the local store on the corner and I'll pay
$50 for them.
And I'll pay more. But but at least I feel better paying the local guy,
Agreed.
And
I'm with you on this, yes.
And then this morning, I went back on it. I said, hey, just for the heck of it, let me look again and let me do a search and let me see if this shows up on Amazon. Because we all buy a lot of stuff from Amazon, even though it's the machine everybody likes to rant against, right? Found them on Amazon for a better price, free shipping, and I ordered them. I said, okay. But I felt bad about it. I really felt bad about doing that because I know the arguments about Amazon and the big money conglomerate. But as a consumer, now you're torn. Like, so what are your thoughts? Like, as a consumer, you want the best deal. I don't want to cut my local guy out, even though I just did.
Right.
And I really have trouble with that. I fight internally with that. And then I don't know. So what are your thoughts?
Oh yeah. I have the same consternation over it because I've realized that I watched it in New York, where I grew up. A lot of the auto parts stores in New York all dropped one by one until you were at the mercy of the chain store. And I was a victim of the chain store last week with the starter on the LeBaron, where I think if I was at a local store, I probably would have gotten the problem solved a lot quicker, probably a lot quicker than with the chain store. Because with the chain store, just the fact that I dealt with at least a half a dozen individuals in the one transaction, because you ordered it from one person, but another person received it, and now one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing, and then you have to go through all of that all over again to try and deduce what had happened, and that takes time. So it was that on top of the fact that the part was defective, and the second part was ordered was
with your starter you're talking about.
Yeah, it looked like a pork roast, and then the third part actually worked. So it was that sort of thing. Something you don't really want to deal with in any store, but it's the chances are greater in an automotive chain store. And the reason being is because your local store has gone out of business because you keep buying from the chain store or buying online. So you see the results of buying online. But still, when money talks.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. If you can get the job done for under, $40, $50 when it would have cost you $70, $80 at a local store, yeah, you got, it's a hard choice to make.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what choice isn't hard to make, and it's going to the phones. So let's go to the phones and the fun and say hi. You're on with the Motor Mouths.
Good afternoon, gentlemen, and a happy belated Thanksgiving.
Hey, Skip, what's happening?
Yes,
not much, but I wanted to speak to Chris's story from before about the garage surfing.
Good call.
It turns out that one day I was at a car show years ago, and I'm at the show, and a guy comes by, and he's looking at the car. I actually had the white Nomad at the time, and he's looking at the car, and he's walking around, and he's just doing his thing, and all of a sudden he looks over at me, and he says, you live on Candlewood Road, don't you?
Yeah.
I said, excuse me?
Mm-hmm.
I said, do I know you? How do I know you? He says, oh, no, you don't know me. He says, but I pass your house all the time. I said, you do?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He says, yeah, man, I've seen your garage open, and I see your cars, and you got a bunch of nice cars there, and this and that.
And your toolbox looks a little messy, so you better clean that up.
Right, down to, that beer didn't look too cold you left on the counter there.
Right.
That half-eaten sandwich looked pretty good, and I'm going, okay, where are we going here?
Yeah.
And, who are you that you're looking in my garage all the time? So he pretty much said that he's a local school bus driver, and he would pass the house driving the school bus back and forth to, taking the kids to and from school a couple times a day. But that was the day that I realized that being on a busy street, so to speak, and having 3 garage doors open that would open to the street, I, from that day forward, never worked in the garage without having the doors closed. Pull forward, the only time those doors were open was when I was, pulling a car in or out, or, had to have it open for some reason. But, it's great to go drive around and be on that side and see what's in people's garages and houses and yards and what have you. But sometimes when you're on the other side of that and somebody tells you about it, it gets a little freaky.
Yes.
You kind of wonder who else has been looking and what else has been seen, and how open was I to somebody that might say, well, I like that collection, and who knows, maybe one day I can make it mine.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of guys and people I've seen through the years have put a back garage door on, because I don't, like even now, I was doing some work on my garage the other day, and it was kind of cold. I was working on these carburetors, and even though I had the heater on, I'm like, you know what? I said I should close the door, but then I feel closed in. I like having that door open. So that's why I've seen a lot of guys with that rear garage door, and that's nice. You close the front one, open the back one. So.
Yeah, see, that's the big thing now with the garage I built down here. I'm secluded enough where I am to the back of the property. I'm at the very back part of the property. I left it wooded up front with just a driveway coming back. But if you're on the right angle, you can see straight back and see the front of the garage. And I have a one-car door and then an oversized two-car door and then an entry door to go into the shop and so forth. But that garage is so big now that I go in there, I don't open the doors. Plus, I have it climate controlled. I have AC and heat and so forth. So I really don't have any need to open the doors other than if I have chemical smells or ran a car or what have you and, want to air it out. But in general, I keep those doors closed 24/7. I don't open it to anybody anymore.
Well, yeah, once you get out of New York, you have that ability to do that because you have property and you can situate things where they're not, right up front.
Right.
So that's the best choice to make all the time. So.
And everybody tells me down here that I'm paranoid and people don't do that anyway. But I'll tell you, there was one day I was on my property, the adjoining property to the garage, and I hear something coming down the driveway because I have a Millings driveway. And I look over and there's a white pickup truck comes down the driveway, goes back by the garage, hooks a Huey, and drives out.
Huh.
Now, people I've told the story, locals, maybe the guy just thought it was a side street or side street. What are you kidding me? You can tell it's a driveway. There's no way it's a side street. He went down there specifically to see what's back there.
Yeah.
And, maybe he was just a car guy because there are a lot of them in the neighborhood. But even still, you just don't want people driving on your property. So now I have, enunciators and stuff, and I have cameras on the garage now, and so on and so forth. The New York came out in me, and I want to know if that's going to happen again, so to speak, and especially when I don't know it.
I like, no trespassing on by Smith & Wesson, stay out. And in the South, that's the law. I mean, if you violate that, you're stupid.
Well, I have a big sign on my garage door, the entry door into the shop, and it says, "Warning, you've been warned."
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
And
get the point. Yeah.
If you can't get the point from there, you're stupid to walk through the door.
Exactly.
You get what you get at that point.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I totally understand. No, it's it's happened to me too, Skip, because many years ago I was at an estate sale in a town I lived in Connecticut about late 80s. And I was talking to some old gentlemen that were standing around a 56 Buick Special in a barn that was down on the ground. And they asked me, because I was the youngest in that group, and they said, "You like old Buicks?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "There's one up the road. There's a blue Electra sitting in a garage further up the road. Have you seen that?" I go, "Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's
my car." It's funny.
My car.
Our friend Tom Cotter. Our friend Tom Cotter just posted a video last week on the Haggerty channel on YouTube, where he did what Richard Rawlings did on a TV show a couple of years ago from Fast and Loud. He went up in a private plane.
Oh, yes.
And this is up over the North Peninsula, up in
Really?
in Detroit.
There was actually a show on where the guys did that. That's how
right.
they searched for cars.
That's right. Yes, that's a couple of years ago. Yeah.
I forget the name of the show, but I used to watch it when that was on.
Yeah, and then he went down on the ground and tried to find what. But then he didn't find. Right. He didn't make hits on what he saw, but he did find some other stuff. So. That's that car spotter mentality of you just got to go and check and see. But
he came back with a John Deere tractor or something.
Yeah.
You're right.
He found a tractor
back with a above ground swimming pool.
There you go.
And speaking of Connecticut, Chris, just as an offshoot, I have a friend, a very close friend, who's looking for a house right now in the Westport, Connecticut area.
Nice area. Yeah, I lived at the time this story happened. I lived in a town called Weston, which is right next to Westport.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah.
Well, I know his daughter lives in a neighboring town, and I'm not sure what that is right now without looking up her address, but I know it's a neighboring town to Westport. They didn't want to be in the same town, but and getting off cars again. But
all right,
which is typical.
Oh, very good, Skip. Thanks for that. Thanks for the thought. That's cool, because that's something that we all do. We're always looking in garages.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just as guilty even down here, because there's so much property people have down here, and there are so many sheds and lean-tos, and I mean, you can't imagine the stuff that's down here, plus the stuff that's just out on the property. Some areas it's just like, the front yard is littered with 53 different pickup trucks and car. Unfortunately, nothing I'm looking for, but
well, you never know.
It's around, and I always keep my eyes open, because, like you say, you never know what you're going to stumble across, and if you're lucky enough. But it's the old adage I found. My luck has always been, I'm going to restore it. No, I'm going to redo it.
Sure.
And the best thing I saw with that was one day on Facebook, there was a picture, and there were 4 tires stuck in the ground with a rectangular rust pattern.
Yeah.
And the guy said, I went by to check on it. And the guy said, no, he was going to redo it someday.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the mentality that's out there. We all think we have the time, money, and effort to do it. And as it goes by and it gets to the point of no return, I mean, the coulda, woulda, shouldas and all of that, you second-guess yourself maybe at that point, or maybe you don't. Maybe it's you're happy that nobody did get it. I don't know.
Yeah, true.
But
very true.
It's a shame to see a lot of this stuff, go south when there are people out there that are willing to put in the time, the money, and the effort to bring them back and revive them, and even the ones that had trees growing through the engine compartments. I mean, I've seen cars restored like that, so there's a lot to be said for it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, you have a great rest of your weekend, and be well.
Thanks, Skip. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Skip.
Okay.
All right, so long. That's another thought. Again, 516-572-7440. Our other friend, Ryan Brutt, the auto archaeologist, I just had an email thread with him because he does the same thing where he spots cars, and he's very active on YouTube, too, put some great stuff up. He got a Hawaiian Punch go-kart bodied a Hawaiian Punch bodied go-kart. And he sat in it, and he's a big guy. Ryan's a big guy. And he brought it to the McCann Show, the Muscle Cars and Corvette National in Detroit. And so I sent him a picture of the Corvette body I have for a go-kart that I picked years ago. He's like, wow, I never saw one of those. I'm like, it could be yours, buddy. You know, it's like everything's for sale.
Come up and get it.
He goes, oh, you should bring that next year. We'll be at the show. I'm like, yeah, well, we'll see. I don't know. But anything is, like I said, anything automotive is collectible, and those little go-karts are too. So,
that's for sure. I follow Ryan on Instagram, and he literally did a video recently. He stumbled on another Superbird.
Yeah.
And just some of the finds that he makes are extraordinary. Some of the pictures that he posts on Instagram are hysterical. So,
and you know what
hysterical they're literally mouth opening, like, oh my gosh.
You know what it is? Part of that is Ryan, like Tom Cotter, not only goes out and hunts, but now he's built a network of people who'll call him or them and say, hey, you know, I know of a collection here. I saw stuff over there. So you have eyes and ears on the ground everywhere. You know, and those guys get a lot of help by doing that way, which is great because one guy can't do it all. You can't be everywhere in this country, you know.
Sure. But for the fact that they're still out there are still people that have cars in barns. There's still finds to be found.
I got my eye on one that's not even a quarter mile from my house, and I'm thinking that's going to be a nice little retirement project for me, possibly. And I ran it by my wife yesterday, and we drove by, and she's like, okay, all right, that's not bad. So we'll see. You know, it's been
do you want to divulge a little bit? Do you want to throw a hint out, or no? You're just going to be Silent Sam.
It's a C4 Corvette. It's been sitting there.
A what?
A C4 Corvette. It's been sitting there since I've seen it there for years. And now the tires are going low, and it's just sitting backed up to this guy's garage outside. It's convertible, and I'm like, okay, that's okay, that's doable. You know, it hasn't moved in a long time. The house has been redone. The other vehicles are new. So there's activity in the house, but the car has just been sitting. So who knows what the story is? Maybe the owner passed away. Maybe the owner is older and sick. You don't know. I mean, you know, anything. Fill in the blank. Maybe the guy bought it to do it, and then just never hasn't gotten around to it. Very possible. But
and you know what? I'll tell you the truth. It becomes an obsession. We all know this. Even in my world, I have a garage that fits 2 cars, and 2 cars sit outside. Our 2 regular cars sit outside. The 2 cars that I mess with sit inside. Sure. There's no room for anything else. Right. That's it. That's all the room that's there. I'll still look.
Yeah, sure.
I will still look. I will still keep an eye out for something out there.
Right.
It's like, and I've seen cars that I'm like, I can buy that. I can bring that home. But where am I going to put it?
Well, you got to put it in a secondary spot until you sell something. And that's the thing. You have no problem with selling off stuff either, because that's nice because you're willing to make that space. The thing that gets me is when a car is so close to the house, that thing is push-homeable. You know what I'm saying? It's like literally we could push that up the block, 1, 2, 3 turns, we're home. No flatbeds, you know?
It's push-homeable.
Easy peasy, nice and easy, yes. So who knows? You know what? I may just forget all about it. I don't know. But
I was going to say, you have bigger projects on your hands in the future, my son.
Yeah, cleaning up.
You got to figure out how to turn your permanent setup into a MASH unit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You know, I thought about that. I mean, making a move recently, I didn't move anything out of my garage. I left everything in the garage. And I thought to myself, oh my God, if I had to move everything out of one garage into another garage, holy smokes, you just put me in the ground now. I would be dead before I knew it. And I think about it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think about like your garage. Your garage has, I would say, your garage is smaller and has about 10 times the amount more junk in your garage than in mine. It's all neatly stacked, and you can still work and survive in your garage and produce and create in your garage. But everything is plastered up against the wall. Like I always say, your garage is a feast for the eyes. My garage is not.
And I have a loft up there that's kind of full with stuff too.
Oh, what a surprise!
Yeah.
Yes, I just want to go in business with you and just do an eBay thing. I'll just eBay everything.
Let's do it. I've got tons of stuff. I was thinking about opening an Amazon store, actually. They actually petitioned me to do it, and I'm thinking, you know what, maybe not be a bad idea. But
I actually put some stuff on eBay recently, and recently within the last year.
Yeah,
It took a while
changed.
to sell it. But it is amazing how much junk that I sold that I wouldn't think would sell.
Right. Oh, I know. That's usually always the case. Right. Yeah. Well, I tell you what else sells around here, and it is this great show called Beatles Songs that we listen to Fridays at 8 p.m., and you know who does it.
Yes! Glorious, amazing Robert Xavier Leonard.
None other than our lead-in, the NCC alumnus, right? Rob Leonard. Beatles Songs takes an all-encompassing look at the Beatles. Ha-ha, what a surprise there, right? And it features their music together and apart, as well as the cover songs, the songs the Beatles cover songs, and the songs the Beatles covered. Who wrote this? And songs the Beatles either guested on or produced. So check that out Friday night. It's a good show. Rob knows his stuff, and so does the guests he has. So, being that we're at the bottom of the hour, do we have the voodoo that you do, that honor group of the Motormouth Radio Hour?
Yes, that boring 3 minutes at the bottom of the hour. The Motormouth Radio honor group of the hour, Ray. When you are pouring some sort of liquid into the vehicle and anticipating the same fluid hitting the garage floor. Have you ever poured antifreeze into the radiator after a repair and listened for the drip? Have you ever poured motor oil into the crankcase and then thought, if you attach the oil filter or replace the oil pan bolt, did I do that? Nobody likes an Exxon Valdez incident on their garage floor.
No.
And once you finish pouring, do you do the quick drop just to make sure everything is dry and secure? Then do the same thing on startup, too. You start the carburetor, do the quick drop. Make sure everything is doing and flowing like it should. Well, if you listen intently for the dripping while you're pouring, you're part of the Motormouth Radio honor group of the hour. And
yes. That's a good one. And I'll tell you what, one more quick notification. I had this in my book for a while. This is there's the toy. It's time of year again, Toys for Tots. This is the Cruise Through Holiday Toy Drive from the Town of Oyster Bay. Joseph Saladino and the board present this. They want you to, or asking to donate a new unwrapped toy and bring a smile to a child this holiday season. You can see Santa and drop off letters. It's next Saturday. That's why we have to announce this today. December 4th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at John Burns Park in Mazza Pizza. That's Massapequa for you locals. And the rain date is Sunday, December 5th. So shoot on down there. We actually have this, actually a Motormouth Radio little icon down here.
Nice.
Yep.
Look
so
at
we
that.
kind of helped them out. So next Saturday, December 4th, 9 to 2, John Burns Park. Bring a toy or it's not a food drive, just toy for Santas. And it's the USMC Toys for Tots, the Marine Corps. So I see you've done as I've requested, and you have your cowbell because you're going to have to play kind of my lead percussion on this song.
Okay.
And we were talking about being suave, weren't we? Well,
yes,
people don't know.
Suave Bola.
People have no idea. Now we're going to get the epitome of suave on this break.
Ooh.
And you take care of the cowbell because I have some other stuff to do. I got to do a couple of the percussion things. And we'll be back with more Motormouth Radio. Ray Guarino, Chris Switzer. Keep it where you got it on 90.3 WHPC. Hit it, Chris. Show on 90.3 WHPC is brought to you by CarStar Celebrity Chase Collision, with 2 locations in Limerick and Oceanside, who remind you that New York state law says you always have the right to choose which shop will fix your car. CarStar Celebrity Chase Collision offers a full range of services, 24-hour towing between Montauk and Manhattan, shuttle service, and they can help you with a rental car arrangement if needed. All repairs include the CarStar Lifetime Nationwide Warranty, ensuring that the experts at Celebrity Chase Collision are always on your side.
Y sí, hablamos español.
More information is available by calling 516-593-0920 or visiting online at celebritychasecollision.com.
My name is Carl Anthony with Automoblog and AutoVision News, and you're listening to Ray and Chris on Motormouth Radio, WHPC 90.3 FM.
You're listening to the Motormouth. You know them.
So nice talking to you guys. I miss you.
You love them.
I heard you talking about us, so I thought I'd call in.
Vote them out. You want to serve dinner to them.
How you doing, guys? Sorry to interrupt. How are you, Ray?
Chris is the sharpest drill bit, right? This is the first time that I'm actually listening live and working on a car.
Our trained staff of 2 will help.
I'll call you back when I have the solution.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. That definitely points me in the right direction.
No, hold your breath. I hope you're sitting down.
Vote them out.
A tornado of urban legend and BS.
No, I'm not going to wax my Johnson. I'm going to wax my Evinrude.
As always, you are consummate professional.
When I listen on my laptop, I got to keep that thing screaming. I don't mean to blow you up on the airwaves.
Quite frankly, there are better things to do with your time.
Oh, this is where I call wrong number by accident.
I want you all to know, sometimes I don't even wear pants.
I have no clue, and I can't hit it with a hammer to fix it.
Yeah, I want to know what the is wrong with my car.
I got to give you guys a call and talk to you.
Vote them out.
I'm in the car now.
They're going to talk about working on cars, but not going to work on yours.
There is no answer, and it makes you think, and I like the things that make you think.
What are you doing here?
I'm on break.
Okay, good. So are we.
There are answers, sometimes correct ones, and we may have them.
Motormouth Radio, 90.3 FM, WHPC.
Vote them out.
Hey, you, get over here. Every Sunday, 12 to 1, you are going to tune in to hear the Motor Mouths, my friends Ray Guarino and Chris Switzer. 90.3 FM, WHPC. You might learn something.
I think we learned how to harmonize a little bit. Good work.
Malo.
That's right. Good work on that cowbell, by the way.
Yes, I love Malo.
When was the last time you heard Suavecito?
Oh my gosh, it has been years. Do you know that's Carlos Santana's cousin?
That is correct. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Chris with the big musical brain.
Yeah, all those years on the radio for nothing.
I know. Again,
just to dig up kernels of information like that.
And like I said, I was at Infinity Records on Saturday. I took my wife with me, in fact. She endured it. And if you go to your local store, like we were talking about with the brakes, that's where you're going to find stuff like this. You will, you can find good used records, tapes. I mean, most towns now, bigger towns, have stuff like that, and I'm a big fan of that. I encourage you to go do that because there's a relationship you make with the people there. They're all
it's true.
I've met guys in that store that I didn't know that I had conversations with because we had some commonality there. We were in there. We're doing the same thing, right? You're buying records or CDs or equipment. I've bought audio equipment from him, all sorts of cool stuff. So, Hey, let me tell you something funny. This is there's a couple of radio thoughts I had this week.
Uh-oh.
This one was from an Ohio radio station is saying, "Go fetch" to its listeners. So I said, what? Yes.
What?
WWGH-FM in Marion recently announced that a donor is offered $1,000 in reward in the hopes of finding a dog collar stolen from former President Warren G. Harding's home in 2012. Who knows?
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I just got to say, that was kind of odd. But, the other thing that I noticed this weekend, there's a certain local radio station here in the metro area that is doing it's the 21st year, they're doing their top 1,043 classic rock countdown.
Q104?
Gee, what would make you say that? Because their call letters are 104.3? Yes, that's it. And I'll tell you, I listen to as much of this as I can over the weekend, and I love it. To me,
why?
This is what radio should be. A lot of the songs that I hear on there, I have to go to satellite to hear, or I have to go to WHLI's feed that plays the 60s, actually 50s, 60s, and 70s music.
Right.
I told Rob before the show, I heard 2 tracks on different days by King Crimson, which was a band from the 60s that no one hears anymore. And
no, you will not get airplay. That will not get airplay at all.
Well, one of them, I was going to bed and I turned the radio on. I have it set for like an hour and it lulls me to sleep. And I heard this, instrumental track. I'm like, what is that song? And I'm listening to the drum track. I'm like, that's really cool. And I didn't know it. And for me to not know a classic rock song is kind of odd, but I did. True. As soon as the vocal came back in, I knew it. I knew, I knew the guitar riff and I knew the vocal. It was 21st Century Schizoid Man. It was actually, but I couldn't remember the band. And of course, I did listened to the announcer backtrack it, and he said it was song number 640. So the next day I went online and I looked it up, and I found out it was, King Crimson from their first album. And then yesterday afternoon I heard another track off that album. Now I can't remember the name of the song, but it was a more popular one. And just to hear stuff like that that's why I grew up loving radio, because, back when we had AOR, back in the 70s, when that first hit, that's when you would hear all that stuff that's now called on Sirius, that's deep tracks. That's the stuff they don't play anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. Well, isn't there it's funny, you talk about radio and how it's just getting stripped of its personality and stripped of it. I mean, you're not going to hear a song like that because it's really not, there's no demo for it. There's no demographic for a song like that. So
there is, just a lot of it isn't alive anymore, but a lot of us are.
Well, that's the problem, because you guys aren't buying pimple cream or buying plane tickets.
No, well, it's funny because, and that's kind of what led me to choose the songs I did today on the CD. Because I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to pick two songs that you haven't heard on the radio in a long, long time, and they're really cool songs. Especially the instrumental stuff. That's not instrumental because they do have there's lots of la-las and there are vocals, and And Al, Jeep and Al said BAB does one too. He's right, they do. But the Q104, I don't know. And they used to do the Firecracker 500 on, it was Labor Day weekend. It was Memorial Day, Labor Day, I forget, one of those holidays where they did, probably 4th of July weekend, they did the Firecracker 500. That was another good one. And now, today, this list is winding down. They'll end it tonight. And Ralph Tutor is doing the shift this morning. And he said, as the songs are getting lower in numbers, they're down in the hundreds now, the songs are getting longer. So I heard this morning when I was setting up the computer to record, I heard one of my favorites, and I don't care. People diss this song because they don't understand it, but it was In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida by Iron Butterfly. And if you listen to, you're one of the guys who would say, that's...
No, I would play In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida if I was in the bar and I wanted a bar stool. If I wanted room at the bar, I would go over to the jukebox and play In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. Invariably enough, you would empty the bar.
Well...
Either that or you play, Stranglehold by...
Ted Nugent. Ted Nugent.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I love them both. But no, you see,
one of those two. And you got room at the bar at that point.
I actually turned my older daughter onto that song years ago. I put the album on and started playing it. And I said to her, because she was coming at it the right way, from a musical perspective and from a structured, layered perspective, the song is really pretty cool the way they did it.
Oh, it is not bad. I never minded In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida.
For radio play, they had to make a shorter version. It's a 20-minute song. It's an album side. It's the full side of an album. But, and some people you're never going to reach. Some people you're just never going to get some people to like that song. But whatever. So they're doing that this weekend. And,
But now the musical question, since this turned into a music show, is what do you think number one will be? Because I think we all kind of know what the number one song out of the 1,000 will be.
And
that alone makes me me roll my, because it's not.
I agree. One. Stairway to Heaven. I agree.
Stairway to Heaven.
And the Q104, their staff is so entrenched and not so self-absorbed. They're playing commercials. They have a commercial that runs, and they're interviewing Stairway to Heaven. Right? Like as a person. And they're like, oh, here he is. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm the best. It's like this whole big bloviated thing. They're like, well, you may not win. No, I'm going to win. I'm going to beat you. And they're poking fun of the thing that they do, which is great. It's fantastic that they're doing that.
It's true. I know CBS FM, New York station, the oldie station at the time, when it was an oldie station, used to do Top 1,000 as well. And the song that was always number one was In the Still of the Night by the Five Satins.
That's right.
Was always the song.
Always. You knew it.
And everybody was always shocked about it. Oh, it's still a night. So as you hear, number one, shut up, show me. It's like, oh, for crying out loud.
Sure. I know. So anyway.
Yeah.
We divert a little, but that's okay, because music and cars, guitars, all this stuff always goes together. We all listen to music, and we raised on it.
Agreed.
So 516-572-7440 is the number. And if you want to follow us on digitally, you can follow us on the web and Facebook and Twitter at Motormouth Radio, and Instagram, it's real_Motormouth Radio. Well, we put up pictures of stuff that I do, pretty much.
You do?
Yeah.
You haven't for a while.
No, I did this week.
I'm still looking.
I put the last post I had this week was the pictures of the Edelbrock carburetors and those misaligned gaskets.
Right.
I put
Very
that
frustrating.
up. Yeah. You know what it is? Sometimes when you're doing certain jobs, it's hard to get that camera and take a picture when you're, because your hands could be greasy, they could be oily, they could be, wet. You're just not in a good position to do that. So sometimes you can go back and stage stuff. Sometimes you can't.
And that's always been my problem because I'm working on something and I'm in the process, like you're zoned. You want to get whatever it is done. You're too cold or too warm or too dirty or too clean, whatever it is. You just want to get it done. And a lot of times I'll try and take pictures of it. But like you say, you're going to soil the camera, which is already soiled, but you're going to soil the camera. And it's just get it blurry, get it right, get the lights right.
You know what I do?
Wait a minute, what am I doing?
See, sometimes if I have the wherewithal, and the more you do it, the more you're tuned in. I actually have the thought, and I'll say, okay, all right, if I'm going to do, I may want to post this. So I already know that going in. And then what I do is I will have it set up. So, okay, let me take a picture before I get dirty of the components, maybe the bad component or a picture of the new stuff I'm putting in. So now I got them in the camera. And then all I got to worry about is pictures throughout the process of the job or, somewhere along the line. And that makes it a lot more manageable because now you've invested in the pictures already. So for me at least, it kind of keeps me, I have a better chance of doing it. If it's something that I've done and I said, oh, I should have, it's past, forget it. You're not going to go back. You can't, But then, because then you think, okay, you want the content, but then you maybe want to shout out a manufacturers. You want to use your hashtag, you want to @ them, whatever. So you want to make sure you get their logo in the picture because you're going to mention them. So again, you have to think ahead a little bit.
That's smart. That's marketing. It's smart.
Exactly. So we try, but that's where we put our stuff, and it's funny because I follow the stuff and I see pretty much. Especially after I'll make a post on things, there'll always be new people that start to follow us. And it could be because there's some guy I don't know if he's in Venezuela or if he's in the Dominican Republic. I don't know, Carburetors. Really? And he found us and he just always likes when I put carburetor stuff on. And I looked at his page and he's down there somewhere in Central America. And he works on a lot of cars with carburetors and weird stuff that I've never seen, but they have a lot of oddball cars down there. Sure. And so now I'll actually tag him on a post just so he could, because it's carburetor, and he'll always write back gracias. So we got a new friend down there. It's like if we ever get stuck in the Andes, we'll be able to call him and say, hey, come bring a burro and get us out of here.
Unfortunately, we don't have Spanish subtitles.
No. But you know what? No, but on those platforms, I know on Instagram, there's a button you can push that will translate.
Oh, wow.
Because I
translate us?
Well, because I do put text in as well, so that'll translate it. Because I've done that with some of the other posts I've seen. Some of the FJ stuff I follow is from Europe, and it's in other languages and translate, and then you get the English, enough of it to understand what the heck they're talking about.
Wow. So speaking of knowing what you're talking about, so I winterized the 300 this week.
Put the blanket around it.
You know what I did? Yes, put a little blanket on it.
You closed the garage door.
Close the garage door, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I popped the hood, popped the positive battery, tossed it aside, closed the hood.
Okay.
That was it.
All right. Do you have a drain in that car that would drain the battery? Is there a reason you did that?
No, it just always feel that you're just running the clock at this point. That's really all I'm doing. So I just popped the battery terminal. Here's the way I look at it. And I thought about this. I'm going to try and not winterize the car because I've driven it as late in the season as last week. Mm-hmm. And I'm probably if I find a decent day in December that's in the 50s, I'll put we've gotten them.
Sure.
I'll put the battery terminal back on and take it out for a spin.
Sure.
But I figure January, you're not going to drive. You're not going to really do much. But maybe February, I make it a 40-degree day.
Sure. No, the only thing I would say to that is I'm all for it. Everybody put our good friends at Automoblog, Carl Anthony and them, they put up a big post about winterizing the car, and I know Steve Linden does stuff. Everybody does. Sure. It's really just it's a content generator because my thought is And I argue with our internet guru about this all the time. I say, listen, the guys that listen to this show don't need to be told to winterize their car or check their tire pressure. They know to do it because this is what they do. And if they don't, they're do not. So they, and they are our friends, and we know this, and we embrace that too. But so I would say, if your car, you know that if it sits a little bit, you're going to check your tire pressures and you'll adjust those before you go. And you know already if that car has enough 50-50 antifreeze mix in that it's not going to freeze, so you don't have to go and do that. So you did the only other thing you had to do. Well, no, I would digress. There's one other thing I would have done. You just take it out. No, I would have made sure that I had a stabilizer in the fuel, fuel stabilizer.
Yeah,
that's it.
That is true.
Other than that, you're fine. Like I said, you could go in there, check the battery, check the tire pressures, start it, and away you go, and that's fine. So,
check the tire pressure of my 40-year-old tires.
Yeah, geez, wow, yeah. I know. I give you a quick update. I said the other week that I had brought one of my tires on the FJ and one of my daughters from her RAV4 over to Tire Town to have Joe's guys take a look because each one had a slow leak. And he says, well, how do you know? Like, well, Joe, everybody says check the tire pressures once a month, a couple times a year, or once a month. I do it like weekly, weekly.
I know, you do it hourly.
I could. I said, so I can see the trend. Well, plus I was watching these tires and I wanted to see what was going on. Well, the quick repair that they did on those TPMS sensors, which is ironic, it's a TPM sensor. I guess it's not a TPMS sensor. Right. S is sensor. But it just flows better. Happy to report both vehicles now have held pressure in those tires, so that repair worked.
Nice.
Another one may go bad down the road, another one may need it, but hey, that's why you check and you do those, to make sure that there's not a problem. So,
but you talk about the oil warning light. I'm really glad that we have a tire pressure warning light because there are times where I don't have the time to hustle around the car, and when the light goes on, then I react. But I'm glad it's there. Right. Not on the older cars, but certainly on the newer ones, we have them.
The only thing that I have fault with that is Joe and I had a discussion about this. Different manufacturers have into the programs in the computers, they have a different parameter for how many pounds above and below set point are needed to set that light off. So a Toyota isn't going to be the same as a Chevy, isn't going to be the same as a Lexus, and I don't know. I'd like to be able to set it myself, like go in there and program it so I know. Yeah.
That'd be a great idea.
I would because I know how far I want to let my tires go. But most people, it's around, it's fine, good. Yeah.
On the Mazda, it's about 10 pounds.
That's way too much. It's way too big of a range for me. Way too big.
Because I'll know one tire could be at like 38, and the tire with the slow leak can be like around 28.
What does it call? Is it 38 is what they call for? Is that the... What is
no, I like to overfill.
Okay, I do too.
35.
35. Okay, so in reality, that could go down to 25.
Yes.
It's not going to it's not going to trip it at 28 because 28 in that computer is within the range. It has to be 25 or below. So think about that. Which again, that's way too low. Yeah, way too low.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's like driving through mud. Yeah. And it's not good for the tire either. So there will be a day where I'm going to have to yank that tire off and do exactly what you did and just get it reset, rebeaded, and slap back on. But it's those aluminum wheels. My steel wheels, as I'm knocking on wood here, my steel wheels have been fine.
They seal better. Let me ask you this. On that car, does the display give you the actual pressures on the tires on the display?
No, it doesn't. Okay. No, it just gives you the warning.
My wife's car does. Her Chevy does show you the pressure. The pressure.
Nice.
Not all do. Some do, some don't. They don't all do that. I think it's getting more common that they do. So I like when I see that because now you can go out with your gauge of choice and see if they're in agreement. And if you trust that gauge, you now can say, hey, the car is off. The calibration may be off. It may be the TPM sensor. That the sensor may be actually at fault as well. And then live and die by that gauge.
It's funny you mentioned trust the gauge because there are gauges that I have that I don't feel are accurate enough, like maybe they're within a pound or two, but I will use the same gauge on one vehicle. So that's my reference, is that gauge.
Right.
But I do try and check it with other gauges, and I find that they're a pound or two off. A lot of the cheaper ones obviously are not as accurate as some of the more expensive ones. You gave me a very nice one for a holiday, and I still use that.
I don't remember.
But I don't think it's the most accurate of the bunch.
I don't recall doing that or what it was. That's the problem. You'd have to check it against.
Well, you did go with it.
Okay, yeah, I will. All right, good. You have to check it against the known reference, and that's hard. What's a known reference for
what? Right, exactly. What?
Atmosphere is a known reference, basically. That's a known reference. Anything else is subject to a calibration.
Right, so that's why I pretty much just use one gauge that I kind of trust.
That's a good idea. Yes,
and go with it.
And you know what?
Yeah,
it's repeatable.
I always feel, and this is something that we've always discussed on the show. It's not an exact science what we do.
Right.
It's not. And it's a ballpark.
Right. There is a range, an acceptable range, and that's fine. And that's what you're conveying by doing that. Yeah, absolutely fine. I agree.
Yeah. I always feel if I'm raking the leaves on the lawn, I'm not picking up every leaf. I'm just I don't do a good job. I just do a job.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Sure.
Don't pick up every single leaf. Just most of them. That's it.
Right.
So if I get close to 38 pounds in the tire, I'm good. It could be 40. It could be 37. I don't care. As long as I'm there.
You can check a torque wrench basically by using weights and some string. You can replicate that, but to replicate pressure is a lot harder to do without a lot more, not extreme, but sophisticated equipment. So at that point, you have to just go with, like you said, go with the average and go with what you trust.
And right now, it's a ballpark figure.
And there are a lot of good tire pressure gauges out there for good prices. I tend to like the analog ones. You know, I've said this all the time, and I have a couple digital ones, and even my Milwaukee tire inflator has a digital gauge. And I wonder now, with that Milwaukee inflator, you have to screw the hose onto the valve and unscrew it. So as you're doing that, you hear a little psh of air, right?
Sure. You're going to lose some.
But the pressure stays the same. If you follow me on this, if you fill a tire and you're using a digital filler, like I do have one of those, and you hit 32 and you stop, you've actually hit 32.0 pounds.
Right.
Now, you could put that filler on and it says 32, especially if it doesn't give you a tense position. You could be at 32.9. You could be at almost 33. You could be, 9. It depends on the resolution of your gauge. They usually don't give you tenths. They just give you whole numbers. So you could be on the cusp of 32 or on the cusp of 33. So basically, your four tires could be within a pound of each other. Now, a pound, would I squibble over that? No, not really. Not over 1 pound. But again, if you're talking accuracy, now you're not really accurate. On that analog gauge, you can see where the needle is lined up dead on 32. As opposed to, an inch off or whatever. So,
right, you could creep over to 33 or creep down to 31. Yes,
yeah,
exactly. I think I always told you I always like analog gauges because all you have to do is glance at it.
True.
When you look at a digital gauge, you have to literally physically read it. 32, 32. You have to read that.
Right.
If you have an analog gauge and you're familiar with it, if you're doing something, you get to a certain point, all you have to do is glance at it, just like a clock.
That's very true.
A clock with hands, you just glance at it to know what time it is. If you have a digital clock, you have to read it. It's like right now, it's 12:57. If I look at my analog clock, it's 3 minutes to 1. You just blink at it and go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's why you always see analog clocks in radio stations.
Well, and usually they have big Mickey Mouse hands on them, too.
Yes.
Yeah. Because the announcer who talks like this, Gary Owens, knows.
Cups is here.
And if you remember that, you're old enough to know about laughing. So
you're old enough to listen to the show. That's basically it.
Well, we're old enough to get out of here, too. It's time to go. Kim's getting ready for Thunder Road and the best of Springsteen, so she's feverishly getting her stuff ready, but she's a pro, so she doesn't have to have anything set up. She's going to be real fast. So... So what do you think, Chris? Next week, we're into another month again. Geez, I tell you, it's flying by, right?
It certainly is flying by. Holy smokes, getting closer to 20 years, huh?
Yeah, that's right. In January.
Yep.
Our anniversary is coming up, so we'll have to see if we're going to do anything, or we should,
or just let it go and hopefully forget about it.
Yeah, right. It's like everybody else says. Yeah, just let's forget about that. We'll get out of here, right?
20 years. Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm so ashamed.
All right, so let's watch Kim work while we get out of here. Kim, this isn't lit up here. Why? You think?
I think we have to reset the
reset the board.
Oh, good.
Got it. No, there's a light out, and it isn't affecting anything. It just isn't lit, and I was wondering why.
Partially for a while, and now it's just out.
Okay. We have to go in there and resolder the board. I think there's some bad connections.
Oh, boy.
We'll open it up. We'll do some...
I'll leave you to your devices then.
All right, Chris. So what do we say? What does Chassis John say that you say that we always say to people out in the parking lot?
Don't follow us home, but make sure your tire pressure is good. Use a good tire pressure gauge.
Right. So for Chris Switzer, Ray Guarino, Motormouth Radio signing off. We'll see you next week on 90.3 WHPC.
See you, bye.
Bye.